Good afternoon, everybody. I am Saad Al-Aziz, head instructor at Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu. And today's topic is going to be a term or a quasi-tradition we have in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu that's done at a lot of academies. It's called the Gauntlet. And every once in a while, I get somebody that comes into my academy, and they'll come from another school, and they'll see me do a belt promotion, and they'll be like, hey, are we all going to line up for the Gauntlet? And my answer is always the same: absolutely not. I do not do the Gauntlet in my school. I do not approve of the Gauntlet. And I think the Gauntlet is something that there's just really, I don't think there's a place for it in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There's schools that do it. That's their business. They can do their thing. But for me, you will never see the Gauntlet done in my school. And there'll always be somebody who'll be like, yeah, but it's tradition. It's tradition. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not tradition, because in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the art was founded by the two gentlemen behind me, Carlos Gracie and Elio Gracie. And I have talked to their direct students, and both of them, in both of their instruction, their students all agree that neither Elio nor Carlos ever did the Gauntlet on their students. So if Elio Gracie and Carlos Gracie didn't whip their students, and I'll go into further detail in just a second on what the Gauntlet actually is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if they didn't do it, then who started the tradition? And there's a lot of rumors as to who actually started the tradition, but really no one knows for sure who started this custom of a Gauntlet. But what we do know for sure is that it wasn't Elio Gracie and it wasn't Carlos Gracie. So if it wasn't them, is it really a tradition in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Or is it just something that sort of has gained acceptance amongst some people, and they seem to think it's a good idea? So what the Gauntlet is, because I realized that if you've only done Jiu-Jitsu at my school, you've never seen the Gauntlet, and you have no freaking idea what it is. And what it is different schools and associations, when you promote to blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, they have their promotion ceremony, and your instructor puts your new belt on, and then what they'll do is they'll have all the students line up in 2 rows. And so there could be anywhere from 10 to 50 students, because sometimes it's done at a seminar where there's 50, 60 people, on the mats, and they're all lining up on each side. So you go row here, and then they all take their belts off, and then the people that got promoted, they start at the beginning of and they walk down the middle of this Gauntlet. And as they walk down, each person smacks them on the back with the belt. Now, some associations allow the students to wear their gi top while they go through the Gauntlet, and some require them to take off their gi top. So you're being smacked on the back and a lot of times it's after training. Like we just trained, like we did, maybe it was a seminar, people did some rolling. So you're being smacked on the back by this sometimes wet belt, and they go all down the line. Each student smacks them on the back pretty hard in some cases. I've seen it really turn out ugly, and the person at the end of the Gauntlet, once they walk through, ends up with these red welts all over their back. And these schools think that's a good idea. They're like, hey, yeah, we're toughening them up, or we're maintaining a tradition, even though it's not a tradition that our founders behind us created or did, but they think this is just a great idea. And for me, I guess I'm more sensitive to it because in the U.S. Navy, my 33 years in the U.S. Navy, we would call it hazing. And we had some hazing traditions that we did. And every once in a while, somebody would die from one of our hazing traditions or be severely injured. And nobody's going to die from the Gauntlet. But I see no practical purpose of hurting somebody like that, because you're literally, smacking them, and I've seen it really, like, where the person has serious welts where they can't even train for the next few days because, they're in pain on their back, and I just think there's no purpose. And so the Navy, we used to do a lot of those type of hazing material, those hazing traditions, and there would be incidents where somebody get hurt, and the next thing you know, it's like, do away with it. So the U.S. Navy does very little hazing now because we realize that it's not healthy. It's not good when somebody's being hurt, and you're really not building anything. So there'll be people that'll swear by the Gauntlet. There's people that do the Gauntlet, and the irony is, like, I got some friends, who are black belts. They do the Gauntlet, but I was there on their promotions, and I know they never went through a Gauntlet because not all associations do a Gauntlet. So it's like, dang, you never endured the Gauntlet, but now here you are whipping somebody else. And I think it's really tacky. I just think I don't even know who created this tradition, but people are like, oh, it's a tradition. Oh, it builds camaraderie. I'm like, really? Whipping another person is going to build camaraderie? I don't see it. Or, so, and then plus I think about, like, from a jiu-jitsu perspective, like, I care about our image to the outside world. So I would think, like, man, if somebody on their first day, like, they was just coming to check out the school, and they just happened to come on a day that your school is running a Gauntlet, what kind of impression would that make on that person? And I'm thinking, if I seen something like that on my first day of jiu-jitsu, I might not have ever came back to jiu-jitsu. If that was my first impression of jiu-jitsu, it's like, man, these guys think it's a good time to, whip each other. I don't see that as a good time. So we don't do that here at Semper Fortis Jiu-Jitsu. We'll never do it. We never have. We never will. And I was lucky enough in my jiu-jitsu journey that my instructors didn't do the whipping. So when I got my blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, I never got whipped. I never went through a Gauntlet. And so I'm really happy that on my jiu-jitsu journey, I was with people that saw that Gauntlet as something that wasn't adding anything to our team, anything to our school, and as just I don't even want to call it a tradition, because I would think anything that's a tradition is something that was created by the founders, Carlos and Elio, and if they didn't create it, and you can't even name who did create it, like who first came up with this idea. I know, like, in military history, like in certain militaries, like as a punishment, throughout history, they would have people run through a Gauntlet. But I don't see that as a team building thing, or it's something that's positive in really any way. Because when I promote people, it's I want it to be a joyous occasion. Sometimes I might, their family might be here. Like for certain promotions, I'll give their family a heads up, like, hey, today, we're gonna promote your brother, sister, husband, father, mother, daughter, and try to get them there. And I don't want them to come and see something that's like really barbaric and think, like, these guys are nuts. So yeah, we don't do the Gauntlet here. And I don't know who created the Gauntlet for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know a lot of schools do it. I was watching a video the other day of a school that had done a promotion, and they'd lined somebody up in a Gauntlet, and they're all smacking them with the belt, and they was lighting the guy up, and they required the person not only to walk all the way down the Gauntlet, but then turn around and go all the way back through and get hit all the way back through. I'm like, wow, good for you. Like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But that's the Gauntlet. Don't know who started it. Don't really know what the history of it is. But I do know that the founders of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu did not do the Gauntlet. So, and I think, especially when you talk about Elio Gracie, I think he may have been the toughest man that ever lived. And so if he thought like that wasn't a necessary thing for people to do to get promoted as part of their training progression, if he thought you didn't need the Gauntlet, I'm not sure who somebody else is to think, well, if, you know, Elio must not have known. He must not have, he must have been wrong or something. Yeah, so I disagree. So that's why we don't do the Gauntlet. So that's today. That's this week's Brazilian Jiu Jitsu history lesson, the Gauntlet, and what the Gauntlet is and why we don't do it. All right. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, in previous videos, if you got a question, fire your question off, and it may be the topic for next week. And if you're my friends or family, or you happen to see this video and you have different historical knowledge on the Gauntlet, man, feel free to post in the comments below. Let us know what you know, and educate us all. All right, till next week. Peace out.